What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Overseas Dimes with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones, and we always like to say hello to our very good friends tuning in, keeping us locked in, Channel 82 in Bermuda, Bienvenido. And how about this? Now, we always like to talk stateside hoops. We're going to take it a little further overseas, some great foreign players. My guy, good friend of mine, good friend of the show, does a wonderful job covering college hoops, covering pro hoops as well, and the host a Marshall Time podcast. That, of course, is Jonathan Marshall joining me from the States, stateside. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, Q. It's getting a little cold, so trying to just stay warm.
Yes, and that's why it's always funny, like because we know where we are up and down the East Coast. Yes, it is cold, but then of course, we've got all our friends over there on Channel 82 just hanging out in the islands and
Enjoying
enjoying,
it.
a little beach volleyball, surfing, some water, having a couple Coronas, maybe a little rum, some tequila, and then enjoying the nice weather while we're freezing our tushies
Listen,
off over here. But
God bless them. God bless them.
yeah, hey, exactly. And again, for those tuning in, Overseas Times, we do like a rapid paced look at what's going on, hoops wise. We interview a lot of players. We got some good interviews up and running with a couple of pro ballers that have played overseas on the YouTube channel as well as in the bank on channel 82 in Bermuda. And we want to kind of take it a different step because Jonathan's so entrenched of what's going on in the States with the NBA and the college game. But I wanted to be a little creative today. And you start to think about the foreign flavor that is the NBA and overseas and guys that have a cup of coffee and coming back to the NBA, or maybe guys that were overseas that were looking to, go in different leagues and then ultimately find themselves in the NBA, the National Basketball Association. But I think right now the league, when you talk about 70 plus players that have had that overseas or that foreign, flavor to them right now in the NBA, it has grown exponentially. I'm curious when you look at where the league was from that standpoint 10 years ago, 15 years ago to 20 years ago to now, it seems as though the it is an international game.
I mean, it really is. Look at the list of MVPs recently, right? The champions, right? The guys that you talk about the top 10, even top five, right off the bat, three, four guys are international players, right?
Yep.
What I even thinking about it, what I even okay, who am I not forgetting, right? And so to me, it makes sense though, right? Because as the years go on, everything is so global now. In basketball and business and everything, right? We're so connected. And
Right.
so you have a group of kids now who are growing up, they have access to these highlights and these games. And not only that, former players, coaches have access to training and access to ways to get these guys better. And so, also when it comes to the international game, we can speak to how they train their players coming up,
Sure.
right? Fundamentals, starting at an early age, really booking, really, locking in on those fundamentals from an early age to where when you see these guys playing at the college level or at the pro level, they've already been playing against pros since they were kids, right? And so there's a maturity level that you see from some guys and the fundamental aspect of it as well. And so it's only going to grow as years go on, right? The game continues to be global, and we're going to continue to see guys, 7 foot guys with guard skills coming from these countries, right? We're going to continue to see it as time goes on. Wimby is the latest one, right? Who, whenever he can, get some consistent health, I think we'll really see him take over and possibly be one of the faces of the league that we're talking about. So it's not stopping anytime soon.
Interesting point you bring up because I know in Europe the way they're training and pushing and moving these young players are, well, if you're 8 or 9 years of age, you're going to play against 13, 14-year olds. If you're 13, 14, you're going to play against 17, 18-year olds. If you're 16, 17, 18, guess what? We want you to play against grown men. And I know a lot of that idea and concepts trying to filter into the states, but that's just the European game, and that's why the game is so different. When you look at the overseas game, uh, the phrase that I've been hearing a lot from players that have been tuning in and joining the show is that we don't play with Velcro on the hands. Like the ball, it's not ISO ball, right? Where we see obviously, in the association a lot of ISO ball, but the ball never touches the floor
Mhm.
over in Europe, Germany, Italy, Spain, Turkey, Malta, Morocco. It just never touches the floor.
Yeah, no, that's true. That goes down to the fundamental basics of it, right? Can you pass the ball? Can you handle it, right? And so when you see these guys coming overseas, the guys that we'll talk about, they all have those things in common, right? They aren't just pigeonholed into this one box of, okay, you stay here, this is what you do. No, you're going to learn the whole total game. Whereas maybe in the States, in some cases, you see a tall kid, you're staying out in the paint,
Right.
right? And so now we see in the league today, what's the key? Multi-positional versatility, right? And sort of that's where the league is going. Internationally, that's where they're at. And that's where they've been at. You can make a case of. And that's why we see a guy like Jokic, right? A guy like
Yep.
Wimby,
Yep. Yep.
Laurie Marketing. Like these are
Yep.
guys with great height, with great skill as well. And so it's a credit to these coaches and former players who have gone back and continue to teach the game and reach back. But also, like I said, these kids they're growing up watching Steph Curry. They're growing up watching LeBron and KD now, right? Like they have the vision now, right? And they have the wherewithal, they have the resources to mimic those guys and to continue to work on their game within a European international structure. By the time they get to we're seeing in the college. I'm not sure if you're paying attention. We're seeing a lot of college
Yep.
guys,
Yep.
international guys at the college level now, and they're sticking out. And it's like I've been doing this against grown men. You know
Right.
what I mean? And so don't be surprised in this next draft class, you'll see some European guys coming out of the college level make their way into the first round conversation, right? Because they've been ready. They've been bred for this moment, and so it's only going to grow. You may have a conversation where is the top 10 list going to be all international guys in a few years? Like it may not be far fetched.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point that you bring up again. Jonathan Marshall, kind enough to join us. Don't forget, we're locked in on Channel 82 and Bermuda Overseas Dimes with Q Rich Quinones here. Interesting. So, as we kind of, look at it now, when you look at, say, the top four, five, six, great foreign players. I mean, kind of obviously, you mentioned Wembley, and then obviously you look at the Luca and Joker and Giannis. I mean, those are the guys that kind of roll off the tip of your tongue to start things off, right?
I mean, you roll. I mean, you look at the top 10 scorers in the league. You got Luka Doncic, SGA. He's from Canada, so technically international
That's
player.
right.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jokic, and Laurie Markkinen. So those are what, one, two, three, four. Those are five guys, top 10 NBA scoring right off the bat. Not to mention, if Joel Embiid is healthy, he would be in that conversation as well. Sengun in Houston. He's
Yeah.
another talented young guy, a skilled big man. And so right off the bat, you're looking at it like, wow, that top five list. I mean, four automatically: Luka, Jokic, Giannis, SGA. And you can't. Where's your argument? They've the MVPs, the championships, and they're still just hit. They're in their prime, and they have such a long way to go. Not even, not to mention the Wimbies, the Laurie Markkinens, who is quietly having a great year in Utah. Just put up numbers. I'm not sure why a playoff team hasn't decided to try to snag him away from Utah. That's another conversation. But yeah, there are other guys around the league who may not have the headline level names, but they're putting in work.
Yeah, and you look at, Luca a couple years ago. I mean, look, Joker, I think, is still right now. Joker,
Yeah,
formerly SGA. Luca is an all-time great. Don't get me wrong. Left
yeah.
Slovenia at the age of 13. He's rising through the ranks of Real Madrid, and turns out he's one of the best youth players we've ever seen, the best European basketball players we've ever seen. Joker, for his size, you know, you look at him. All right, here's his center from Serbia, and here we
Mhm.
go. I mean, but to me, what he can do when he's in the paint, outside the paint, beyond the arc, in the lane, the passing, the rebound. I mean, just I don't consider him a center, even though you might make the case. Would you put him in right now as one of the all-time great centers?
I mean, you have to. I mean, does he check all the boxes? Championship,
Yeah,
MVPs, the numbers are there. Competing, I mean, he's undoubtedly the best at his position in his era currently. I mean, those are the boxes that we consider when we talk about the all-time greats, no matter the position. There's certain boxes you got to check off, and he's checking them off. He's such a unique player. He's also checking a box to where you might try to have some imitators, but you really can't duplicate what he like. He's such a special and unique player, and I don't know if we'll ever. I don't know how long it may take for another prospect like Jokic to come along. I think he's that unique. Just the angles of his passes. Um, you look at his body type, look at the way he moves. It's just he has things that you just can't teach. And you may have like guys who you may call it baby Jokic, but it's still different. It's just still there's this uniqueness that the greats have, whether it's a Michael, a Magic, a Larry. Like he has that uniqueness, and
What
he's one of the greats.
when you look at him, you know, a player that's kind of, you know, he's already reached the pinnacle, but you can
Mhm.
make the case he kind of lacks traditional athleticism. You know, for those who
Yeah.
might not be familiar, some of the players Jonathan mentioned stateside, the all-time greats, everyone knows, you know, the Magic Johnsons,
Mhm.
the Michael Jordans, the Larry Birds, right? I mean, the list goes on and on. The Kobe Bryants, LeBron
Mhm.
James, different skill set, athleticism, body types. But for a player like Joker to
Mhm.
just distribute the basketball the way he does, and his scoring prowess, the rebounding, the you know the floor acumen, it's beyond rare.
It's the and we're seeing it with a young guy stateside, Derek Queen, a rookie. Who I love his game. Um, Skill can take you a long way in the NBA and basketball in general. And so what Jokic has is an insane level of skill, but he's an artist, so to speak, right? You can watch guys play, you can tell like he's an artist. Magic Johnson was an artist, right? Uh Steph Curry, the way he just moves like that's it's an art form to what they how they operate. Luka's an artist.
Mm,
And so what Jokic does is he has such a unique each artist, great artists, they have like a unique style
sure,
of play. Like
sure.
when you see, okay, I know what that is. With Jokic, you just can't deny it. It can't be duplicated. And yes, he lacks in athleticism, but when it comes to basketball, I can make the argument that he has the most important elements when it comes to being a top tier athlete in basketball, right? Like he has the ability to find passing lanes and the way he's able to sort of like a quarterback, right? When we talk about American football, the way some quarterbacks are able to find angles within their throws,
Sure,
the way Jokic is able to find to bend these passes to move around with his arm. Like it's just special things that he does that I think we have to take into account when we talk about athleticism, not the
yeah,
traditional athleticism when it comes to speed and jumping. Because how many guys who we've seen have freakish athleticism, but they can't play ball.
right.
So when it comes to basketball, there are certain elements of athleticism that I think Jokic is forcing us to rethink, like what truly matters on the floor.
And by the way, nice little segue when you said, you know, the freakish skill set, you know, Giannis, right? I mean, the Greek freak, you know,
Uh,
force of nature on the floor. I don't even know if he's 30 years of age yet. He might be over 30 years of age, but, you know, you got a couple MVP awards, got an NBA championship, defensive player of the year. Plus, the other thing, too, is you start to talk about star power, right? I mean, we
mhm,
always talk about the international. There are certain players, I don't care what country you go visit, what, you know,
mhm.
city you go visit, what street or strip you're walking on, you'll know if it's a pro basketball player. You'll know if they're a famous player, right? I mean, typically the height first and foremost will give it
Right.
away, right? And the stature, so to speak. But you know, you got a player in Giannis who just turned 30, and I know he's dealing with obviously a couple
Mm.
injuries stateside with the groin strain, going to miss a couple weeks for Milwaukee. But he is a phenomenal player. And remember too, when he came he's played 12 season now. This is his 12th season. When he jumped and landed in the NBA, it took him a couple of years to kind of get his feet wet and acclimated, and then he's just blossomed into another future Hall of Famer, MVP, you know, Defensive Player of the Year, an NBA champ.
Yeah, Giannis is just a force of just determination, the will to be great. You talked about when he first came into the league, he didn't have the body that he has now. If you go back and watch, he was thin, but you
Yes,
can see the framework of what he could become, right? At his size, the way that he moves so fluidly. But all he had to do was really get in the gym, get stronger. But that desire to just attack, 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 just be on go is what stands out to me when we talk about a Giannis. And so that's another element when you talk about the international guys, like there could be that chip on the shoulder too, that extra chip. Because what was the not too maybe when I was growing up as a kid, the knock on international guys, right?
Soft,
They're
soft.
soft, right? And that was every draft class. There was always those guys who stood out, but they never panned out. And the conversation was, are international guys soft? But we're seeing a shift now with these guys. They're not soft physically. They're definitely not soft mentally. And they're proving a point. Like international guys have a place and they have something to say. And so Giannis to me is leading that way because the way he attacks when he's out there, I can't. I mean, I think about Shaq, the way he would just attack the rim. That's how Giannis is today. Every time he's attacking, you don't question. He's trying to dunk it. He's
Mm,
going hard.
yeah.
Nobody, I mean, who's comparable today when you talk about that type of attack mentality? You have to think long and hard about that.
Yeah, and then, and when you mention Shaq, which is a crazy comp, and then you think of Will Chamberlain because they dominated the paint. I mean, hell, you had to move the line out, right?
Mhm.
In the lane, right? Because Chamberlain was just dominating the paint. And to your point regarding, the soft player, I mean, even when you look at some of these players back in the day, Stojakovic, Peja, look at Kukoc, you look at Sabonis, Yao Ming, a lot of them had really good careers. In some cases, careers cut short by their passing, others cut short because of injuries. Yao was a unique animal. Sabonis was an unbelievable passer as a big man. We and I again, I just think it's just you can't teach size, right? We always say that, but you do have to have a little edge and nastiness. And I thought your point was a valid one because these players we're talking about, they're not soft. I mean, you're winning championships. You're, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. You got to have a little ruggedness. You got to have a little dog to you. And we're seeing it, and I think it goes back to where we kind of started, where a lot of these players are getting their feet wet at a very young age, and they're getting
Yeah.
banged around by grown men, so they have to learn how to be tough.
I mean, you talk about Luka Doncic, just he goes in and he's talking. He knows he's the best, right? And there's nothing you can do about it, right? Like
Mm,
he's out there, he's talk. Like I've seen Luka cook defenses and talk and let you know about it. And who's checking him? Nobody.
right,
Like, and Jokic just does his job out there, just goes about his business. Who's checking him? Nobody. Giannis, he's attacking. Who's checking him? Nobody. SGA, you saw what he did last year.
right.
And so these guys, they have that edge to them in different ways, but you see it. You see it.
I am curious. I feel as though we listen. I mean, obviously SGA, obviously Wembley, but how about a player like Gobert?
Mhm.
I mean, look,
Historically, Q, I haven't been the biggest fan of his game. I
no,
got
no,
to
no.
be
I know, but you can't deny
can't deny his impact.
Yeah, he won the NBA Defensive Player of the Year. What, 4 times?
Yeah. No, no. Resume wise, he's put together a really nice career defensively. He's one of the he's in the conversation every year when you talk about the top defensive guys in the league, right? He has his strengths and he has his weaknesses, but that strength he does it so well to where you have to put him in that conversation. We're talking about guys who come from international lands and have an impact. He's made an impact, right? And so that's another piece to it, right? These specialists. He is a specialist. He's a defensive specialist. That's what
Hall of
I would put
Famer?
Rudy Gobert.
Hall of Famer?
Wow. That's a whole different conversation, Q. That's a whole different conversation. Rudy Gobert, Hall of Famer. Man.
So just if you kind of encapsulate the career a little bit, right? You're talking about an all-star, second team, NBA, NBA third team, four-time defensive player of the year, all
Yeah.
defensive first team, all defensive second team, rebounding leader, blocks leader.
Hmm. He has the resume. I'll see. Like it's and the Basketball Hall of Fame is interesting, right? Because there are some names that you would be shocked that are in there,
Well,
right? And
because think
so,
about what it does. It takes
right.
your college and your
Ex
overseas
exactly.
resume.
That's where things get different when
Maybe
you talk about
convoluted.
the
Yeah, yeah,
Basketball Hall
yeah,
of
yeah,
Fame, right?
yeah.
But on the surface, Rudy Gobert Hall of Fame, you gotta stop and think about it. But then you just reeled off his accomplishments. You can't deny it. You just can't. It's a different conversation. We're talking about basketball, playoff basketball, and
Sure.
exploiting weaknesses and Rudy Gobert in that conversation, like it's a different conversation.
Right. Now, if you're talking like an SGA and of course,
No
Wembley,
doubt.
you're talking about a young French phenom, right?
Mhm,
Victor. And I mean, do we look at him right now
mhm.
and start to have the conversation as generational talent?
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen, and I just the term generational has been overused so much, right? But I do think there are cases where it's appropriate. And I think Wimby that we have at his size, the way he's moving out there, and especially what we've seen this year so far, how he started out and how he's pivoted from just shooting threes a lot last year to now working on his mid-range game and really focusing on his footwork on the post. Like he's putting together, if he stays healthy, right? That's the key. That's the
Correct.
only thing for me that can stop Wimby right now. And he's had a couple things he's had to deal with, right? But if he can stay healthy, I don't see why not. He can't win multiple MVPs and multiple championships. He has the talent and the size, the blend of it that is so special. And he talks about that uniqueness. That's unique, and we're not going to find that tomorrow.
At just 21 years of age, right? And a couple is already 3 seasons in the NBA. He's averaging 21, 24, 26. I mean, that's another thing because the game is so wide open. Um, these younger players, they can, score they're young, but they can put up 24, 25, 26 points a game. And then lastly, you got your guy SGA. I know you're all over OKC last year on my show stateside on your podcast. And listen, they got a stud, man. They got a young player, plays both ends of the floor. He's fantastic to watch. They are the defending NBA champs. And look, I know that when we talk about the season, we kind of creep through the holidays and we're like, all right, here we go, here we go, here we go. Well, they're off to an unbelievable start at 17-1. It's they got a squad, man, and they got a great player.
SGA, he's just smooth out there, right? He gets to his spots, he knows what he wants to do, and when I watch him, it's like there's nothing a defense can do to stop him. He's one of those guys you can't rush him. He's going to do whatever he wants to do. I'm going to get to this spot. You may know what I'm going to do, but try to stop it. You just can't. And so I love the way he's able to, perform, and he gave the Thunder a championship. You talk about Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, James Harden; those are the names who have played for that franchise. He did it for the Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they could do it again this year. Just think about that.
Do you have another player or two as we start to wrap it up? Overseas foreign players that you're kind of keeping an eye out for in the NBA.
Laurie Markkinen, as I mentioned, I've been a fan of his game for a few years now. Denny Avdia in Portland, he's really stepped it up. He's having a really great year for the Trailblazers. Sengun in Houston. But Markkinen and Avdia, Denny Avdia, those are the two guys I would say people should pay attention to when it comes to international players. They won't grab the headlines, but these are two, once again, oversized wings, forward guys with skill, can do it all. Really
I,
talented guys.
I'm a little surprised you didn't mention our guy with the Orlando Magic.
Ah, yes, Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner. Of course. I mean, to me, he's a I don't see him. He's a very talented player, but
Oh, you're saying? Oh, you're going for? I was going to actually go Banchero.
oh, Banchero. Well, so I see Banchero as a Duke guy, so I just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
easily
you
you
just
can
yeah, yeah,
easily
yeah.
forget
Well, we
that,
got we're killing
right?
two birds with one stone right there with the Orlando
Exactly,
Magic.
exactly, exactly. But Banchero is another good pull, but I see him coming from Duke. I'm like, oh, I don't even think about him in
Right,
that way,
right, exactly right.
Um, but Denny Avdia and Laurie Markkinen, those are guys I'm a fan of their games. So if you're able to just catch Portland and Utah games, and you'll see what I mean.
By the way, I thought maybe it's because of newly minted fatherhood, right? And then maybe the lack of sleep, you hear the little cooing in the background. We
Baby's hearing some basketball talk.
Well, I
His
mean,
interest is
listen,
peaked
I mean, that's
in the blood.
you got to start them off very, very, very young. Where do you believe within say 10 years the NBA will be like 85% foreign players?
Wow,
Is that too high?
I got to think about that one. I got to think about that one, Q. That's interesting. Would it shock me? It wouldn't shock me. I'll say that it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah,
But Yeah, that's a long ways from now, and a lot can change. But basketball has such a strong hold out here in the states, so it's
It
just,
does.
man, that's
There's
tough.
you
But
yeah,
the way the league is now, and the way these top guys in the league are international, you can see teams try to favor the international guys when it comes to draft talk. And the way these guys are entering the college level now, I think
correct,
that's going to change the game.
correct.
I think that will be the motivation to that number. Yeah.
The other thing too is, and it's a it's a conversation for another day, but a lot of the leagues in the U.S., even the feeder system, the semi-pro, the
Mhm.
smaller scale leagues, sometimes they go up against each other. When you're going overseas and you sign that 3-month contract, if you play well, you can latch
Yeah.
on to another team or another
Mhm.
league that's about to begin their season. So now you're overseas instead of 3 months, you're overseas 6 months. Instead of 6 months, you're overseas for 9 months or potentially for a year. I think sometimes some of the leagues in the States, some of the smaller tier under the G League, they pretty much run their leagues the same time. Now, that could be good and bad with some players coming back overseas, but if they're staying in the States and want to be close to home, that's tough because you have to make the most of your shot if you're going to be in this league or that league or that league because they're going from March, April, May, June, from September, October, November. A lot of times they don't want to compete even though they're smaller with the NFL, with Major League Baseball, with the NBA. So that's something to consider where it's a little different in overseas, where it's that and football, the American, not, our football, but soccer. It's the two gravitas. So that's going to be kind of interesting to watch going forward. So I know you'll be dropping more podcasts after January. The Marshall Time
Yeah.
podcast that'll be on SR 1029 FM, the game. But everyone can also follow you on X as well, social media.
For sure. Look, I'm a hoop head, as Q said, high school level, college level, pro level. I'm into it. So please follow. And like I said, like Q said, January we're going to start pushing out content. So looking forward to that.
And then you can catch Jonathan always joining me on Q stateside as well on the YouTube channel. And just as we always like to say, don't forget to follow along the good folks over at Channel 82 in Bermuda. Keep them locked in. Follow them on all social media platforms. I know that we've got the NBA in full gear. We got college. We got a lot of these leagues right now. Some of these even middle, higher, lower leagues, whether it's SEPA Pack, whether it's the Portugal leagues or in Spain or Warriors Thailand starting in January, February. You will get your hoops fill, whether it's myself, Jonathan, or if you listen into our content respectively. There is a substantial amount of hoops. Now, we don't dive into American football, the NFL. We do that on the other show, and then we have a little fun going back and forth with that as well. But don't forget, give Jonathan a follow. And again, host of March Time Podcast on SR 1029 FM. The game, of course, has a long storied career, sports reporter and anchor in several different markets. And he's kind enough to join us with the newborn right to, just dribbling a little basketball, cooing on the side.
Oh yeah, getting ready to
Yeah,
getting
as
ready to check
always. All
in.
right. Well, listen, brothers, we like to say I greatly appreciate you jumping on board for a couple of moments, running the floor with us on this
Of
edition of
course,
Overseas Times. And I know we're going to do it again.
of course. Thanks, Q.